This is a short documentary that dives into the formation and history of Death Valley. Firstly, why is it called Death Valley? Death Valley was given its infamous name by a group of pioneers who were trapped in there and barely survived due to the hostile climate in 1849. It was also believed that one member of the group got lost and was later presumed dead. Ever since, the national park has seen countless deaths due to heat stroke and severe dehydration. Death Valley has been widely recognized as the hottest place on Earth, and it just keeps getting hotter and hotter each year. Its extreme heat and the fact that it's one of the driest places on Earth gives it its scary name, not to mention that it's also the lowest point in North America. Death Valley is a subtropical hot desert climate with long and extremely hot summers, short and mild winters, and very little rainfall throughout the year. In July of 2018, Death Valley experienced its hottest month on record. The average temperature throughout the month was 42.2 degrees Celsius. Temperatures during the day reached 52.7 degrees Celsius for 4 days in a row. The valley isn't only just really hot, but it's also really, really dry. That's because it lies in the rain shadow of four major mountain ranges. In 2019, it was so dry that it only recorded 59 millimeters of rainfall for the whole year. Compare that to Sydney's 900 milliliters of rain in 2019. Located in the southwest corner of the United States, the majority of the national park is located in eastern California. However, there is a small portion of land that extends past the state border and into mainland Nevada. Its exact coordinates show a latitude of 36.5323 degrees north and a longitude of 116.9325 west. It is a whopping 12,000 kilometers or 7,500 miles from Sydney in terms of direct distance. After 2 flights and a car ride on California State Road 190, you will arrive at Death Valley within a day of leaving Sydney Airport. Now, if you actually go to Death Valley, what would you see? You'll probably just see some sand dunes and cracks in the floor due to the dry heat, and find it very boring, and I agree, it does look very plain. However, the formation of this place is actually quite fascinating. The rugged topography, as well as sand dunes, craters, and canyons, indicate that Death Valley has had an interesting geological history. The valley was first scientifically recorded and explored for its extreme climate in a brief mention published by a California state geologist in 1868. The geological formation of Death Valley dates back around 30 million years and is extremely complex and involves different phases that each last for hundreds of years, which have each influenced how the valley was formed and how it turned out. Some phases in its formation include crustal sinking, some volcanic activity, and movement of tectonic plates beneath the soil over time. Essentially, Death Valley is a graben, which is where a piece of Earth's crust shifts down into the soil due to the movement of tectonic plates within the lithosphere that displaces the structure beneath the rocks and forces a block of land to slide down deeper into the Earth. It's also considered to be a rift valley, which is caused when magma from the asthenosphere shoots up and causes the land above to split and the soil on the surface to collapse, causing a valley. Formation of this extremely hot valley is also due to the lack of rain from the hydrosphere, which prevents the formation of lakes and bodies of water in the lithosphere, which limits the biodiversity of the valley, as only a restricted number of animals can survive with very little water and in the extreme heat. According to a research study in 2019, there are less than 500 species of animals and plants living in Death Valley, most of which are birds. Some of the more commonly found animals include the bighorn sheep and the kit fox. Both of these animals are endemic to North America. These animals are born with the ability to live in hot, dry climates and have adapted over time, which have allowed them to excel in an environment where it's really hot and doesn't have much water, such as Death Valley. I think that you'll probably agree with me when I say that Death Valley classifies as an extreme environment. There is no other place on Earth that is as hot and as dry as Death Valley, and it also happens to be the lowest point in America. I'm not the only person who thinks that Death Valley is an extreme location. The Guinness Book of Records also thinks the same. The world record for the hottest ever air temperature in the world belongs to Death Valley. On 10th of July 1913, the air was measured and reached an extremely high temperature of 56.7 degrees Celsius. During this time, when the world record was broken, summer temperatures often exceeded 49 degrees Celsius pretty much every day. Now you're probably wondering why this valley is so hot, considering that it isn't even that close to the equator, and there are countless places that are much closer to the equator, which naturally make them hotter. The main reason of why it's so hot is because air actually warms as it gets lower, and vice versa. Since Death Valley is around 86 meters below sea level, the air is naturally going to be hotter than if it was around sea level. In addition, another reason for why it's so hot is because the valley is 400 meters inland from any major body of water, which limits its rainfall. Also, a major set of mountains, known as the Sierra Nevada, block moisture from the Pacific Ocean from reaching the valley. As you can see my annotations on the topographic map of Death Valley, the area that is outlined by the black marker is a small part of Death Valley, but is also the hottest part of Death Valley. And the blue lines represent the mountains that surround that part of the valley. And as you can see, the mountains are in quite dark shade, which indicates that they're really big and tall. Although it is one of the most dangerous places on Earth, Death Valley is actually a fascination for many extreme tourists. Despite the record-breaking heat, the national park attracted over 1.6 million tourists in 2018. Tourism in the valley has fluctuated ever since its grand opening to the public in October of 1980. But ever since 2007, the tourism numbers have steadily increased, which I think is because people don't realize how dangerous it can actually be, and people just try and survive in there for the achievement. Even though Death Valley has a harsh climate, there are many potential problems that may damage its ecosystem. Invasive species, climate change, and excessive tourism are just few of the many threats to this fragile desert ecosystem. Donkeys are the most recent invasive species in the national park, as they contaminate water and are a serious hazard to vulnerable species. They are also very detrimental to farms, crops, and flowers. We need to stop donkeys in the area by locating them, catching them, and safely transporting them to a place where they won't do much harm. Climate change is a rapidly increasing problem in the valley. It could push the average temperature to over 50 degrees Celsius over the whole course of a year, which may pose a threat to existing species that can't adjust at the same rate that global temperatures are increasing at. We have to minimize the effects of climate change by using more efficient renewable energy to limit air pollution. Excessive tourism is becoming a big problem as well. Tourism is one of the biggest causes of erosion and pollution. Things like batteries and cigarettes can be very harmful to the environment. We have to minimize the effects of these problems by limiting the tourism in the valley. Death Valley is a natural wonder of this planet. Its extreme heat and the fact that it's one of the driest places on Earth is what makes it so fascinating. The national park should be appreciated by humans for its unique characteristics. It is currently in the protection of the United States government, as the California Desert Protection Act of 1994 states that Death Valley is now an established national park, which means that it is protected under federal law. It was made a part of the California Desert Protection Act of 1994 for its unique biodiversity and extreme climate. Well, I think I've covered everything you need to know about Death Valley, and I hope you've learned a lot about this extreme place. Thank you for listening.